everyone. Our second session today is about the second suites and an affordable housing choice. Second suites are important in our community for the supply of affordable housing needed, and they're great also for extra income for homeowners and for first-time buyers. So at this panel discussion, we're going to hear from planners, from contractors, community builders, and landlords about how second suites are built and can be an option for homeowners in our region. And moderating the panel is Tim Kent, and he's the CEO of Redwood. And welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. We did this back in the spring and got a lot of positive feedback from your membership and wanted to hear about this again. And I think it's great because for me, that shows that there's a huge interest in how you and your clients can be actively engaged in the community and involved in the affordable housing challenge that we have. And there's lots of opportunities to do that. You know, this weekend is one, as you're aware about the housing hackathon, which is a great idea, and really looking forward to see some of the ideas and creativity that comes out of that for some solutions for affordable housing. So what we want to talk about today, and most of what we are going to be doing is going to be sort of a question and answer with you guys and answering some of the biggest questions that you guys have about second suites and how they work and how you do them and all those kinds of things. And that's what we're hoping at the end of this, that you'll walk away armed with the information that you need to be able to help yourselves and help direct your clients toward being involved in creating more affordable housing. As I was introduced, I'm Tim Kent with Redwood Park Communities. And for those of you who don't know, Redwood Park Communities is a registered charity here in Barrie, and our focus is the creation of safe, secure, hopeful, affordable housing. And what's core to who we are that makes us different than just a regular housing provider is the idea of community and creating supportive community within the housing that we do. I think a lot of us take for granted some of the support networks that we have around us through our friends and our family, and when you get yourselves into a tough situation or things happen in your life that are causing struggles, you've got support around you to encourage you and to keep you going and to give you that inner strength that you need. And a lot of the families that we work with and that are struggling financially and struggling with family issues, they don't have some of those support networks, and it only compounds their situation. And so what we like to do is we've got this friendship model of family support. We don't provide service, we do provide housing, and we feel that's our role. But without this friendship model of support within there, we've got a great family support team that just spends time with the families that live in our units as friends. They develop relationships, they help babysit kids, they sit and sip coffee and be a listening ear, and they take the parents to appointments, doctors, the grocery store, legal appointments, and they're just there to provide that kind of support. And that's kind of the core of who Redwood is. So our focus is to create housing, but the core of that housing is that idea of creating community. And we've got a great panel here. One of our panelists is Rhonda, who's our Director of Family Support, and I know that she's going to talk about that more and how that's important to her when she has the opportunity to introduce herself. But that's who Redwood is, that's what we're about. And Second Suites is part of our strategy to help the community and engage the community in creating more affordable housing. It is actually the cheapest way to create really good housing. It's the cheapest real estate that's available for creating housing. And when you've got a structure that's already built and there's unused space in a basement, that you could create a 2-bedroom apartment, or above a garage, you could create a 2-bedroom apartment. The cost of that is very, very low compared to the traditional idea of building a new sixplex, for example. And on top of that, it gives the property owner an opportunity to earn a little bit of extra income to help make their life a little bit more affordable as well, so that they have more money to buy groceries, feed their kids, pay their mortgage payments, etc., etc. So it's really an opportunity in the community, for the community as a whole, to help support each other and keep our housing costs a little bit lower. And the idea of getting people involved in creating that kind of housing is a good one. The challenge is that most of the clients that you will work with, and some of you yourselves, aren't familiar with that process, and you're not sure how to go about creating those second suites. And if you have an idea that, yeah, we got to get a building permit, we got to do all that kind of stuff, some of you may, and most of your clients may never have had to go through that process before. And so that's one of the things that's unique about Redwood and the second suites that we do, is we try to engage the public and get them to think about creating a second suite. And once we've done that, we'll come and assess their property. If they have a property that they could put a second suite in, we'll take a look at that for them. We will take care of actually going through the building permit process. We'll help them to apply for any funding that might be available for that second suite unit. And then once the unit is ready, we will actually come in through our construction partner community builders, and they will come in and actually create your unit for you. And once the unit is completed, then Redwood Park Communities will lease that unit back from you, so that if you're a brand new landlord, you've never done it before, you might have to be a little bit nervous about it, you don't have to worry about that, because we'll take care of doing that for you. We will essentially be your landlord for you, and we'll teach you how to do that as we go along. And that's kind of the focus of what we do. We'll take care of putting our families in that we're trying to support, and the rent will be paid to you directly from Redwood Park Communities, not from the individual that will be occupying your new second suite. So that's kind of just an overview of how our program works. And we can talk about that a little bit more later. If you have questions about that, that's great. And I'm certainly happy to meet with you afterwards, or any one of our panelists might be willing to meet with you as well to talk more in depth about the second suite process. And then I'm more than happy to discuss with you how you might be able to work with Redwood to help yourself or your clients to create some affordable second suite units as well. And obviously, there's the opportunity to create a second suite just for the profit aspect. But just to give you an idea, because some of you may not know this, but the average second suite, if it's a 900 or 1,000 square foot second suite, it's a 2-bedroom, is going to cost typically around $65,000, 60, 65, some of them 55, depends on the scenario of the house and some of the things that have to be done. That is a very, very small investment to create a brand new 2-bedroom apartment. And the return on that investment to you as a property owner, or to your clients as property owners, ends up being over 20%. It's closer to 22% every year, year after year after year. And that's a huge return on your investment. There's no other investment out there that allows you to do that right now. Mutual funds, that kind of thing. It's just not available. And that's to provide affordable housing. That's to provide less than what you could actually get for market rent. And that's what we're trying to help people understand, that it's a great investment to provide it at affordable rates to help families that need help. Instead of looking at it as, well, I want 40, 50, 60%. You don't need that. And if you're willing to take less and still make a great return, you can help a lot of people in your community that need help. And that's kind of where we come at it from the Redwood perspective. And we can talk more about that later. But this is our fabulous panel of professionals. And what I would like to do is I would like each of them to introduce themselves, who they are working with, about their program, their organization, what their involvement is in the second suite process, and they're each going to spend some time doing that. And then after that has happened, what I want to do is I'll walk around out there with the microphone and take questions that you can ask directly to the panel that's here to get those questions that have been burning in your mind about how different parts of the second suites work. This is your opportunity to get that information live. Okay? Thank you, and we're going to hand it over to Ryan White, who will start us off.
Is this on? Perfect. So I'm Ryan White. I'm the Zoning Administrative Officer for the City of Barrie. The last time we did this panel, we were making some changes to the zoning bylaw to hopefully make that process easier. Those changes were actually passed over the summer by council. So now at a basic level, when we do look at the zoning side of secondary suite applications, we're basically looking at a maximum of 2 bedrooms where it's located. So second suites are still not permitted in the Georgian College area under our zoning bylaw. We're looking at a minimum dwelling unit size. We're looking at parking. That's basically it now from the zoning point of view. So if you can comply with those standards, then we will sign off on the zoning for any second suite that comes through.
My name is Krista Howe. I am a plans examiner for the City of Barrie, so I'm working with the building department. We've been trying, as Ryan said, to improve the process to make it easier for everybody in the community to achieve a second suite. We've started some new initiatives that residential permits are being taken in by Service Barrie. They are trying to communicate with all of the individuals to submit their permits. We have a new permit application package that lays out all these requirements to make it easier for homeowners, the public, to incorporate a second suite and apply for these on their own. We've also just incorporated a new process that started in September where we are trying to fast track second suites. So we were having some issues with our timelines at the City of Barrie, which we are trying to improve greatly. Anybody who's come in recently probably notices that the permits are taking a lot less time, but the rapid plan review, basically, if you can qualify for the requirements that we've set out in the rapid plan review, we're going to try and have permits expedited so that your second suite could be issued within a week of permit submission. So we're reviewing about 6 permits a week. Every Friday I'm looking at them and trying to get zoning comments as well as building comments out consolidated so that you have some comments from us within a week instead of waiting the normal 4 to 6 week period. So my job as a plans examiner is basically to review your application for building code requirements, ensure that the suite complies with the building code, and as well as Ryan's reviewing for the zoning bylaw. There's quite a few more requirements for the building code, so we do a complete review to make sure that your room size, you've got the proper fire separations within your suite, ceiling height, smoke detectors, and we're looking to make sure that each of those sections complies with the code so that when you have a contractor go out, they're able to follow your drawings and build directly from those drawings. And we've been trying to work with contractors as well to make sure that we're both on the same page and we can help the clients with anything that the requirements that we've come across in the past that we know we can make it more affordable, we can make the process easier for our contractors and try and help everybody out in the process. So Travis, I'll pass it over to you.
So my name is Travis Cairns. I'm from South Shore Group. We're a general contractor in Barrie. We do a variety of contracting, renovations, additions, all those types of things. We've been involved with the second suites for about 3 years now, so we have quite a wide experience doing them, mostly in Barrie and a few surrounding communities. What we like about doing the second suites is, as has been mentioned by some of the other panelists, it provides affordable housing really is the most affordable type of housing to create a suite or an apartment for a family, a couple, or an individual. There is such a shortage of affordable housing in this area that there's an untapped market with all of these basements that are sitting unused or not utilized to their fullest potential. So dealing with different ones like Krista and Ryan at the City of Barrie, all the inspectors, it's taken some time to work out all of the obstacles and roadblocks, but they've made quite a few changes within their department. It makes it easier for us as contractors, and we've tried as contractors and some of the other ones, such as community builders, I'm sure can attest. It's made our job easier to try to streamline the process to make these second suites possible. Also dealing with ones like Jerry, who will speak next from Simcoe County, with the funding that's available. This also creates an opportunity for some who wouldn't have the funds otherwise to be able to complete these projects. Because as was mentioned, they are sometimes quite pricey. Even though they are affordable compared to building a new structure, there is a cost involved. So we try to work through all those parts of the process with our customers. We try to stress not trying to cut corners, but go through all of the necessary channels and avenues to meet the Ontario Building Code requirements, which is the biggest thing that the city is going to stress, that those things have to be met. We try to help them come up with a plan or a layout that will be suitable for their second suite, but then we pass the process off to a designer. And that's the biggest need we find in Barrie right now, is trying to find registered BCIN designers, architects, engineers that we can hand that part of the process over to come up with the architectural plans. Once those plans are done, then we can come up with a quote to give the customer to build their project for them. So we look forward to doing many more of these second suites, working with all the different partners here that are involved, and hopefully we can get a lot more affordable housing for the families that need it.
Hi, my name is Jerry Butson. I work with the County of Simcoe Secondary Suite Program and the Ontario Renovates programs. Essentially, my role within the County of Simcoe is to administer the Ontario Renovates and Secondary Suite programs. So the purpose of our program is to help it's to create affordable housing supply in this city and surround the other municipalities in the county as well. It's part of our 10-year the secondary suite component is one piece of our 10-year affordable housing strategy to create secondary suites. As all the other panelists have said, it is a very cost-effective means to create affordable housing. We provide a $25,000 forgivable loan over a 15-year period to create the unit. That being said, there are some stipulations attached to that. There are maximum rents, which are given to us by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation every quarter. Currently, for a bachelor, it's $749 inclusive. For a one-bedroom, it's $1,012. And for a two-bedroom, it's $1,150. And as well, too, another component of it is that you have to rent it out to tenants who fall within a certain income criteria. That being for a bachelor, $27,000 total gross household income. For a one-bedroom, it's $33,500, and for a two-bedroom, it's $41,000. And as the other panelists have said, the cost to create it can be up to $65,000 or more, depending on what type of finishes and what type of infrastructure is in place. However, our $25,000 forgivable loan provides a way for homeowners and investors who might not otherwise be able to create that unit. It provides them with a significant portion of the funds to do that. We register our funds by way of a second mortgage on title, so there does have to be enough room, enough equity, Then we base that on the MPAC assessment. Again, if the MPAC assessment isn't, it doesn't, the numbers don't work, the clients do have the option of getting an appraisal completed as long as it's completed by someone who is designated appraiser with the Appraisal Institute of Canada. Other than that, there's if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
My name is Rhonda Kent, and I work with Redwood Park Communities, so I oversee the family support for Redwood Park Communities. So my part comes in after all of this has happened. I work with the families who are joining us as partners and go over our program and how it works when families first get connected. And then after the suite is completed, we partner with organizations in Barrie who provide clients to live in those units. So we are working with the Barrie Women and Children's Shelter, and we are now expanding beyond that to other organizations. So those organizations provide the case management for the families who are living in the units. And then our role is to provide support to the tenant and support to the homeowner. To help facilitate that change in space and help homeowners learn how to interact with the clients and help the clients as well, support the clients in that space as well. So all of the clients, we don't actually ever use that word, I've just used it like 11 times. And I think because I'm wearing a jacket, wow. The folks who live in our units, they get involved in our supportive community. So we provide a lot of opportunities for families to engage with each other. And the goal is to create spaces for lives to intersect so that community can be built and lasting community. We talk a lot at Redwood about how the opposite of homelessness isn't having a home. The opposite of homelessness, I'm crying too. The opposite of homelessness is community. And so our goal is to provide that, and not just while a family is living in the space, but the kind of community that lasts after they leave. So most of our units right now are transitional housing, which is defined as a year less a day. So families are often using these spaces while they're on the wait list for geared to income housing. It isn't exclusively how they're used, but we're using it mostly for that purpose right now. So we're providing that community so that when families leave and move into their next housing, they still have those supports in place, that safe place to land. They have numbers in their phone of people to call in an emergency, and they're connected with all of the services and supports that are available in our community. So that's sort of our role, is to work with the families to help facilitate interaction and to build supportive community, and the goal of that for us is to help break the cycle of poverty.
My name is Brandon Day. I'm the volunteer Second Suites coordinator for Redwood. I'm also a partner at Community Builders. I would be the one who would come and meet with you and assess your property and just speak with you, answer any of your questions, and see if our program is a good fit for you. I would also be the one who organizes the construction end of it as well. I guess my perspective on Second Suites and affordable housing is kind of a personal one. As a contractor, that was my plan, to invest in housing, invest in rentals, and secure a future that way. When I got involved with Redwood Park Communities, I realized how my investment could change, and I didn't have to just invest in the financial part of that and the bottom line. I could make a social impact investment and not only get a good return on my investment, but also invest in someone's life. So I feel like that's a great thing for you all to consider, as I see a room of what I'm sure is savvy investors, and you're continually dealing with people who are trying to buy homes that actually need that little bit of rental income to help them afford a home, because it is kind of very difficult these days to become a homeowner. So I know myself, even my first home, it needed to have that rental potential so that I could afford my own mortgage. And when I realized that that didn't have to be at the extreme level, that I could do that affordably, still manage to maintain my home and give someone a better life, that really changed my whole ideology about the situation and helped spawn the idea of community builders, I suppose. So if that's something that interests you, I'd love to talk to you later on and make myself available. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name's DJ, and I'm a homeowner. And part of, I have a suite with Redwood Park. And I guess I get to be at the end here because I went through all of this. And I can tell you that it really wasn't all that complicated in the end. And I think it wasn't all that complicated because I worked with Redwood and community builders, and they've got a system set up. It's ready to go, and they made it easy, and they made it a lot less complicated than it needs to be for me individually, trying to navigate all of this, which is necessary, but can be overwhelming as an individual homeowner. So yeah, so it was wonderful. And for me, I heard Tim speak at a session, and just hearing his passion about this whole process was really incredible. And here I was in this home, an empty nester now, and I had all the space, so 2 and 2 together, and it just made sense. And then I had the pleasure of meeting Brandon through getting some information about the program, and again, all being presented to me in a very non-complicated way so that I could get through it. And so the whole timing of it really wasn't even that bad. I mean, you know, permit going in December of last year, and by April, there was a family living in the basement apartment, a wonderful family, for whom it's been 6 months now, and it's been a really, really great experience, and it's really lovely to see the progress that family has made from 6 months ago. And what else was I going to tell you about here? And just again, working with community builders, just the energy of that team that came in and did all the work in the basement, and then meeting Rhonda and the energy there of making all of this happen and getting a family there, it's just been wonderful. What else here? Yeah, you know, that probably sums it up. And I guess I'm just going to emphasize that the non-complicated way that this can happen, and to encourage you to encourage your clients or yourselves to truly consider this. And all around, it's been a wonderful experience for me. So much so that I just loved this team, that I came to work for them too, because it was just so amazing, and I just wanted to be so much a part of this. I don't know if it's a movement, but certainly they're spearheading and they're moving things forward here, and it's been wonderful. I just like to end with a quote that I heard. I was watching Julie Payette's speech when she was her first day as Governor General, and here's her quote. She said, "We're all in this together. It's our duty to some extent to help improve the lives of people in our community, to diminish the gaps and inequities." So I think, you know, that comes right from that high level of being Canadian to right here in Barrie, and I think we can all make that happen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. That was great. I think what we'll do now, I don't even know what time it is, but we've got a little bit of time, I trust, and I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask the questions that you want to ask about Second Suites, whether it's technical, whether it's program related for Redwood, whether it's got something to do with the process and how you get started, or how you get some of your clients involved, whatever the case might be. Any questions that you have, raise your hand, I'll come around, I'll give you the mic, you can ask your questions, and whoever on the panel is able to answer it, they can answer it for you. Does that sound good? Okay, I got one yes, so do you have a question? Yeah, sure.
I just want to ask DJ how you found out about the program in the first place.
Yeah. Is it on? Yeah, so I mentioned I was at a session. It was actually with a group that was actually looking at creating some housing for people with special needs. But Tim was speaking at that, and so that's where I heard him speak about the program. And again, just that whole passion that he had at that moment. And then it was from Googling Redwood Park communities and finding, and just from that moment of sending in that request and like I said, meeting Brandon and learning about the whole program, it all just made sense. And certainly now being at this end, it was one of the best decisions I made was to proceed with this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I guess I was wondering, as real estate, selling a house that has started this process, and the 25 years isn't up, how that impacts the sale of the house.
I guess for the next one of these we do, we can have an appraiser on the panel. Maybe they can shed some light on that. Jerry, you want to comment on that?
Sorry, I might have misunderstood your question or your comment. In terms of our grant, or sorry, our forgivable loan, it is not a 25-year, it's a 15-year forgivable loan, and it's forgiven at an equal rate of 1/15 per year. Now, the time that the homeowner remains in the program, they receive forgiveness. So if they were to sell it, 7.5 years down the road, then only 50% of the forgivable loan would become repayable. So as long as you remain in the program, you gain that forgiveness. Interest-free. If you have to repay, it's essentially a disbursement on closing. So.
Is it transferable? Is it transferable?
Unfortunately, no, it's not. It's not transferable.
Does the homeowner have to be living upstairs of the property?
No, they don't actually. We have two streams of funding for our program. One is funded through the Investment in Affordable Housing Initiative through the CMHC and the province. That program in particular, the homeowners, it has to be their sole and principal residence. However, about 2 years ago, we created the county-funded secondary suite program, whereas investors can use that program as well, and they can apply to up to 6 units, so 6 individual houses with secondary suites in them. They do not need to reside in the unit, and through our application process, we determine, we ask if you currently own any other properties, if within the 15-year period you feel you might, and we give them the option, and then we assess what program we put them in.
Okay. And you also mentioned about building up to 2-bedroom units.
Yep.
Do you guys also build bachelors or
yep.
1-bedroom units?
Bachelor 1-bedroom units. Essentially, we will fund anything that the municipality will allow. We don't get involved in the design, the approvals for what's being done. That's all with the city. So.
And I noticed with Barrie, we don't have a lot of separate entrance. Do you guys do a lot of that with the construction people? Do you build a lot of separate entrances?
Yeah, if it requires it for the unit to have a separate entrance. Sometimes you can utilize one entrance for both units, but you would have to have the proper fire separation in place for that. And in addition, if you don't have a walkout basement, then you'd have to have an egress window somewhere within the unit. It doesn't have to be in a bedroom, but somewhere within the basement unit. But yeah, it is quite common, either because of necessity or because the homeowner wants a separate entrance for us to do that. So that would become part of the design and also the permit process before we can build that.
adding an entrance to a house that doesn't have one, I'm imagining it adds to the cost of that unit and kind of is on top of what it would normally cost to build a second suite.
Yeah, generally it depends all on the height, how far below grade or underground. I guess we're not supposed to use below grade anymore. But depending on the elevation of the basement in relation to the ground outside, could be anywhere between 10 and 15,000 on average. And it depends if you go through the side yard, backyard. You can also do that through the garage sometimes. But every house is completely different on the scope.
We are wondering what the application fee will be through City of Barrie.
So our permit fees are based on the area of the suite. So currently, right now, we're looking at $9.10 per meter square. That is the building permit fee, as well as a $70 zoning fee. And the registration process is $218.23.
Thank you. Another question is, after gets registered as the second suite, will the property tax also increased annually, and how much?
Truthfully, I can't speak to that. I apologize, I'm not with taxation. But yes, it would increase likely. I don't know how much though. I can find that out for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
Ryan or Krista, are you guys, either of you able to answer whether the City of Barrie directly has any rebates back for creating an affordable second suite?
Yeah, I don't believe that the City of Barrie at this time has any type of rebate for a second suite.
Thank you. Any other questions? I saw some other hands earlier.
How many funds are actually available from the County of Simcoe for these grants? Is there a limit?
So for this year, there was $750,000 in the county funded stream and $300,000 in the investment in affordable housing stream. Next year, based on the budget approval, we've got $388,000 in the county funded and another $300,000 for investment in affordable housing funding. And it's $25,000 per unit maximum. Typically, they're all $25,000. I've seen very, very few, if any, created for under that threshold.
Jerry, is there still money available for the allocation for 2017?
Well, we are currently in a waitlist situation. That being said, Travis and I were having a discussion about that earlier. Essentially, a lot of people will go into this process thinking that it's something for them and that they can create it for X amount of dollars. But once they start going through the process and realize what's involved, they will. We do have some people that fall off our wait list, and so I encourage anyone who would like to apply, because chances are we might still get to everyone on our wait list this year.
Thank you.
And it's first come, first served, so you can't get any funding unless you're on the list.
And I'm just going to add one note to that from my statement earlier at the beginning, where I talked about the return being over 20% on an affordable second suite, and that's still providing it at affordable rental rates. That's without any funding from the county. So if you're able to get funding from the county, your return is actually much greater than that. But if you have the resources, your clients have the resources and can fund it themselves, it's fabulous return on their investment.
Yeah, so as Ryan was saying earlier, the only zoning is for the Georgian College area is not permitted. So anywhere else within the City of Barrie is permitted to have a second suite.
So the one thing to point out would be it's still a maximum of 1 second suite per lot. So in the case of condo developments, for example, we're looking into that, but as of right now, theoretically, you'd be permitted 1. So again, first come, first serve. The other thing is the building itself actually has to be fronting on a public street, not a private street. So again, that falls more into those large-scale condo developments where you may see difficulties in that way. Outside of the Georgian College area, though, there's no limitation as far as a detached house, so it could be a semi-detached or a street townhouse. They would be permitted in those as well, as long as you can meet the other requirements.
Is there a separate process for someone who has, let's say, what they're calling an in-law suite, so it's not legal with the city, but they've decided that they want to make it legal? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do have like a couple different routes that people go. Either they're creating a brand new second suite, their basement is completely empty and they're doing full construction. We also have the suites where someone's come in and said it's already been built and they're letting us know here's what's here and here's what I have to do in order to make it legal, to ensure those fire separations are either already existing or will be provided before we issue a permit for them. And then there's another process for existing second suites prior to 1996.
Yeah, so prior to 1996, you may not be required to get a full building permit for those ones. So we require some sort of proof that they did exist prior to. If you can provide that proof, we do go through a fire inspection and a property standards inspection. If you pass both of those, there may be no requirement for you to get a building permit from there for those upgrades, and we could go from there. To touch on sort of the other point, if I'm understanding correctly, we don't have necessarily different stream if there's some sort of commitment from the homeowner that it'll only be my in-laws living in there. The unfortunate, or not unfortunate part, but we zone use, not users. So in these cases, there's no guarantee, for example, that you won't sell the house in 2 years and the person coming in is then going to rent it to strangers or somebody else they know. So it needs to go through the same process and same requirements for that reason. It's the use that we actually deal with.
Just wanted to add as a side note, as realtors and your clients as potential investors, if they're looking for an investment property strictly to rent out a two-unit building, I would definitely encourage you to advise them to look for a property that either has a registered second suite or look for a house that has an unfinished basement. There's not a lot of value in trying to find a house with a finished basement if it wasn't done as a second suite. Very, very rarely have we had the case where a customer approaches us to convert a pre-existing unit and it ends up being cheaper. Unless it was all done to the stipulations of the Ontario Building Code that would allow it to be a registered second suite. Generally, a lot of basements are finished without permits, which means it's not just the drywall and fire separation that has to be completely changed. Usually all the drywall has to be ripped out and 5/8 has been put in. But there's smoke detectors, there's egress requirements, even the plumbing a lot of times has been done improperly or poorly. All these things have to be kind of checked off the list with the building department and with us as contractors getting the final inspections to allow it to pass. So we have had the case, we've had customers buy a property with a finished basement thinking they're saving a lot of money and they want to convert to a second suite. In the end, it costs them the same or more, and it's more frustrating. So definitely, I would advise that for your clients.
And actually on that note, if you do have a client who's looking at a house that is advertised with a second suite, we do have a list on our website of all the registered ones, so that's one quick way you can check. If you don't see it there and you think it may still be legal, you can feel free to give us a call. We can look into that, but that's one quick way to check as well.
Also, just to back up what Travis was saying on the Redwood and Community Builder side, our experience is the same. What we discover with basements that are finished or partially finished and being converted to a second suite, more times than not, it's more expensive than if you're starting with a fresh, unfinished, unused basement.
Just a question. So because people often have that, and it's been done improperly, so they go into the city and they say, okay, we want to make an application to have it legal. City comes in, looks at it. The homeowner finds out it's way too expensive to convert. Is that house now on a list at the city that it has a suite in it that doesn't meet code, and so that person then sells the house, the next homeowner buys it. Is that house somewhere in the city lists that that second homeowner unknowingly might have a house that's flagged?
So we don't necessarily have a list of houses that may have a second suite in them. If you were to come in and apply for a building permit though, first of all, we don't have inspectors go out and tell you yes or no, it needs to be done. That would be one of the contractors or a designer before the application actually comes into the city of Barrie. So Travis or Brandon may go out and say, this suite's not going to comply because of this reason, and it may not be worth it for you to go ahead. If you were to come in with a building application though, I do a full review on all of the requirements. Say you did not want to proceed with the permit because your room sizes didn't meet or something to that extent, we can cancel the permit. We would have bylaw go out to check and make sure that you're either returning it to a single family dwelling or continuing on with the permit to make it a second suite, because we can't permit a non-legal apartment. So they would have the stove to be removed.
Yeah, so if someone had made that application, got maybe halfway through the process and quit, and then now they decide, I'm going to sell my house. You go in, it looks like a finished basement. They just never got around to finishing, say, the kitchen or whatever.
Yeah, as long as it's a finished basement, we don't have an issue. It's if there is cooking facilities within the suite that makes it seem like somebody is either living or renting.
Yeah, but what my point is after that, so the homeowner quit the process.
Yes.
All the stuff is still at the city, all the applications and all the different forms. So the homeowner decides, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to sell my house. Sell their house, they don't say anything about that they've ever made an application to the city to put a suite in. Unknowingly, that second owner takes over the house, closes it, moves in, finds out that the city has permits sitting there.
Yeah, so I would advise that when your client is actually going to purchase the house, they have their lawyer come in with a compliance letter. That'll tell you all of the active building permits that are in process currently. So we look at all of our files, we'll let the lawyer know these are our active permits, and the new purchaser will know that there was a second suite application that was submitted that is still open and active. But we won't we don't come in and follow up if the permit has been canceled or is still active. I may, once I don't have 60 or 70 permits on my desk one day, decide that I'm gonna call and find out what's going on with this active permit that's been sitting here for a year.
Yeah, so they don't get a letter from the city saying, where's the status of this at this point? Right now, they don't get that.
Not at this point, no. I've got quite a few that are still sitting open on my desk that I haven't heard from, but it's a little too busy to follow up.
Okay.
You may have mentioned this, so I'm not sure if I'm asking you to repeat something. I did write down that the rents, when you, so with the, I guess this is directed towards the Simcoe County. The rents for a bachelor, $749, for a one bedroom, $1,012, and for a two bedroom, $1,150. What, and I may have missed it, what is the time requirement that a homeowner is to charge those rents? And I think that's great, but is it the life of the loan, or?
No, so essentially what would happen with that is you're allowed to increase your rents yearly as long as 12 months has lapsed, and that you can just increase it as per the legislation that allows. So the Residential Tenancies Act, I believe, sets out or the Landlord Tenant Board, I can't remember which one, sets out the annual allowable increase, and you can increase it every year by that. These rents change quarterly as we're given them by CMHC. So if they were to go up and you have a vacancy in your tenant, you had a tenant, he leaves, you have a new tenant come in, and you give us a call, and we would give you what the new rental amounts are as per the CMHC guidelines, average market rents.
But how long do people call and check in? So is it up to the 1 year, and then they can
By the Residential Tenancies Act, yeah.
Right, so we're at year 2.5.
Yep,
The unit is vacant.
yep.
And so after people have left and it's vacant and you
Give
no
us a
longer
call and
have-
we'll give you the new rental rates for the,
So,
and they do increase.
so they're giving you a call though. At what
Yes.
point do they not give you a call?
15 years
It
after
is
they're,
15 years.
after they're no longer part of the program.
Oh, okay.
So
That
your
was my
obligation as a homeowner is 15 years to the program.
question. Okay, okay, no, fair enough.
And you can voluntarily choose to repay whatever amounts are owing, but we always like to see people go the full.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. Okay, perfect, thank you.
What are the requirements for additional parking, and is there any allowance to widen a driveway to more than 50% of the property frontage? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so for an additional suite, you're looking at effectively one additional space for the unit. The 50% maximum is what's written in the bylaw, so I suppose you could always apply for a minor variance to exceed that, but beyond that, you'd be restricted to 50% of the front yard as a parking area.
Okay, guys, we got time for 2 more questions, so now's your chance. I got one over here on the far side, and then if there's another one, or you're still processing through what you want to ask, think of it quick.
Do the rents include utilities?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so the definition of affordable that the Simcoe County is going with is market rent inclusive of utilities, rather than market rent plus utilities. Okay. Any other questions? One last question?
I don't know if this has been answered or not, but so we're talking about second suites, but what if I owned a Century home and wanted to put in a 3rd unit? Would the funding apply for that? Or
No, it's essentially for second suites. And again, at that stage, your house would be zoned a triplex, I would assume. And,
Yes,
and you're only allowed 1 second suite per property in the city of Barrie, from what I understand.
Yeah, if it's a Century home, there's the potential you could go with a converted dwelling. So you could go up to, I believe it's 4 units there. But there's a whole bunch of stipulations about zoning, it being constructed prior to 1945, it being a certain size, the building itself. So there's quite a few regulations surrounding that, but there's always the potential you could do that, I suppose, just without funding from Simcoe County.
okay, are we wrapping up now?
Yeah, I'll give this back to you. I just want to say thank you again for having us here to be able to answer your second suite questions. If you have additional questions, feel free to speak with any of the panelists that you would like to speak with. For Redwood Park's purposes, we do have a table out there with some literature and some second suite information, some business cards to contact us if you'd like. You can go on our website. And I think Travis has some information as well. And Travis, you're welcome to leave your information on our table if you'd like to. So, and that way, if you guys have any other questions, you can certainly reach out to us, and we're happy to work with you to come up with solutions for yourself and your clients. Thank you.